Welcome back to another episode of the Sasha Davis podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me. I have been trying to get her on this podcast since I started this podcast in 2017. Was it 2017? Or maybe it was 2018. Either way, doesn't matter. I have been trying to get this person on the podcast for quite some time. So, my sister, Sonja Shea. Here we go. Sonja is an autism mom, photographer, fiance, and an advocate for autism. She runs her own photography business and has a studio located in Mobile, Iowa. Until recently, she has also worked as a server at a chain restaurant in Sioux City, but decided to take a break from that and really focus on her business and staying home more with her son. She is engaged to a wonderful man and father who loves both her son and her with all her heart. And he's always working his butt off to support them and make sure they have everything they need. Thaddeus is their son, who is amazing. He's 5 and he just lights up their world every day. He lights up my world too, and we just love him. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't get angry or frustrated at times, because she does. There isn't a day that goes by that she's not proud of him, though. So raising a child with autism is something that nobody can train you for, because every child is different. So Sonja and her fiance do the best they can, and they just see where the day takes them. You know, sometimes they have good days, sometimes they have bad days. And then she says to add to that, they also have an English Mastiff named Zeus, and a Chihuahua named Babies, a ferret named Milo, and 2 fish. Sonja says her life can get pretty hectic at times, but she definitely loves it. Her hope is that doing this podcast, she can share her experiences with others like you and hope that it helps in some small way. So maybe you have a child with autism, or you're unsure, or you're just going through, the doctors right now to find out, or maybe you have an autism family member. Either way, she hopes this explains it a little bit better for you, who sometimes people have a little bit of trouble understanding. So if any of you have questions about autism or where to get autism help, Sonja said she's always available via Messenger, or you can message her at sonjashea17@yahoo.com. Enjoy this insightful, beautiful conversation. You guys are really going to love this one. So screenshot and share with a friend. Let me know what you think. And without further ado, here we go. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to the podcast. I have another interview for us today, and this one is a special guest. I've been trying to get her on the podcast for, it's probably been a year.
Probably.
I think we've scheduled like 2 or 3 times, and then this shit didn't work out, which we'll talk about, because I think the last time we had to reschedule because Thaddeus, my nephew, your son, was just not having it, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But for the listeners here, this special guest is my sister. Her name is Sonja. She's a couple years younger than me, and we've been really close. I mean, probably her entire life.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think there's a couple years in there where I didn't talk to you because of some choices you made, or vice versa. Honestly, I don't even fucking remember. But otherwise, I think we're
time ago.
Yeah, I think we're a lot closer than most siblings, which is kind of cool. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself here in a minute. But we're going to talk about, we could go a million different directions with this, but we're going to talk about her journey with her son and what that looks like. So if anybody here has a family member who has been diagnosed with autism, or just knows somebody with autism, or works with people, we're going to kind of get behind the scenes. And I know what this looks like as an aunt, as an auntie, but I don't even know what it looks like as a mother. In a lot of ways, I just hear secondhand, and even the things that you tell me, I still can't fucking believe the shit.
Oh, I know. I call you crying sometimes. Just you don't even know what to say.
No, I'm just like, I'm appalled. Like, I cannot believe that people treat other people this way, and I don't think people really understand. And so I want to bring awareness to that. And a lot of people may not even know that they are reacting or projecting certain things onto you or him. And maybe this conversation can enlighten them. So let's take a step back. I want you, they probably don't know. And we'll talk about that. And that's okay. But go ahead and introduce yourself. Like, who are you? What do you do for people who don't know you?
Well, my name is Sonja Shea. I'm Sasha's younger sister, and I run a photography business. If you ever see any of Sasha's pictures out there, like family pictures, birth pictures, her business pictures, I've usually taken
any pictures that are professionally done that look good are from Sonja.
Yeah. And then I'm also a part-time server at a restaurant in Sioux City, and not really doing that at the moment yet, but hopefully they'll be open soon. But they've been kind of closed down with this whole coronavirus stuff, at least inside the restaurant. So, yeah, so I do that, and then I'm at home and in the middle of remodeling our house. That's another one right now, so that's fun. But
I was gonna say, you've managed to keep yourself busy. It's so funny because everybody I see online is like, I'm so bored, and I just don't know if that's in our blood to just like sit still.
I know. I like literally this past fall when I was so busy with sessions, I remember I came home like one day and I had so many pictures to work on, and I just stood there and I was like, I don't even know where to start. But that's like, I'm used to it. And then there was like another day where it was like I was all caught up with my sessions. I was done editing and I didn't have to work that day. And I was like, what do I do? Like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Like, do I just sit down now, or do I find something else to do? Like, I put on a show for like 5 minutes and I was like, I can't do this. I got to clean something. Like,
that's me. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? And like, I'll sit there and like for like 10 minutes and I'm like, okay, I relaxed for 10 minutes. Now what can I do? What can I create? What can I start? And it's like project after project. I just love, like, I think we're creators, deep down. Like we always have to be like creating and doing and helping somebody or like making an impact some way. And
exactly.
I just find that funny.
That's one good thing that came out of this though, like this coronavirus, this quarantine type thing. It's actually, forced me, to kind of step back from work and be home more. And then and I realized like, it's okay to sit down and watch a movie. It's okay to just relax. Like I've kind of gotten back to that. So that's good. I've realized. So.
Yeah, I have yet to watch a movie from, the only time I've ever really watched a movie, I think from start to finish is either at the movie theater or before I had kids. But ever since having kids, like these last like 3 years, I can't tell you how many movies I've actually sat down from start to finish and watched the entire thing.
Yeah, it's very rare, but we just got that big new TV and Thaddeus loves it. So he'll actually sit up on the couch with us and watch the movie, surprisingly. So it's actually kind of nice. We all climb up on the couch and we have a little family movie night, which we haven't really, I don't think, ever been able to have. So that's really nice.
I love that. So let's dive right into this conversation. I don't even know where this is going to go. So let's take a step back and you can just kind of walk us through what like being pregnant and giving birth was like in a nutshell, and then we can kind of talk about after he was here and when you started to notice differences and kind of what that looked like. So let's take a step back. You found out you were pregnant. How did that go?
Not well.
I know how that went. I think it's so funny to like talk about this again because I'm like, oh my God, this is so funny. I just remember like looking back, it's been like 5 or 6 years ago now.
How unhappy I was. Like, no, like everyone's like, if you accidentally get pregnant, because, he was an accident, it wasn't, we weren't planning it. Me and Brady, his dad, we had only been together for like 9 months. We celebrated our 1-year anniversary. I was 3 months pregnant. So 3-4 months pregnant, something like that. And so it was like, it wasn't that I, didn't love Brady, anything like that, but it was like, we hadn't even been together a year yet. It was like, we didn't know how our life was going to turn out. Like, was I meant to be with him the rest of my life? Like it was, all of a sudden I'm bringing a child into the world. And not only that, but I never really knew if I wanted to be a mom. Like when I was younger, I thought that that's what you were supposed to do. And I thought that everybody, and I thought that I did because I was so close with our younger sister, Sierra. And I, was always kind of like her mom figure. I lived with them for many years when she was young and she did everything with me. And But then it was when I found out like I was going to be a mother myself, like, I don't know, like I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a mom. Was never planning on having kids. And then I got pregnant, and I wasn't really young. I was 24 when I found out I was pregnant. I was 25 when I had him. So that's not really, all the doctors and nurses are like, this is a perfect age. I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm a perfect age to have a kid. I feel like I'm still a kid myself. But it sounds weird now that my son is autistic, but I always had, when people be like, oh, you're going to have, because everybody knew I wasn't happy being pregnant, or the people that I worked with or close family and friends, they knew I was not happy. Like my whole pregnancy, I was miserable because I wasn't ever sick. I wasn't nothing. I had a perfect pregnancy, like pregnancy symptoms wise, but in my head, I was not happy. I was like, I was terrified and I was scared. I was like, am I going to be a good mother? Am I going to be able to raise this child? Like, am I going to mess him up?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was always had that inkling in the back of my head, like, what if I do have a kid with special needs? Because we have a cousin who's autistic. We kind of grew up with him. And
well, we have lots of special needs people in our family, though. I mean, we have ADHD. And knock on wood, I don't know how we turned out like halfway normal, but we have like depression. We've had alcoholics. We've had drug addicts. We've had heart disease. We've had cancer. We've had
our
mental retardation. Yeah.
We have a lot
there's all kinds of like a vast.
Yeah. I wasn't going to get into everything, but we have a lot. And so, in my head, I'm like, but what if I have this kid, that is dependent on me forever? And and I wasn't trying to like jinx myself, but more prepare myself because I've seen it firsthand. And, lo and behold, we end up having a child that, has autism, which he is my world. But it was like, this is, the kind of thing that I was, trying to prepare myself for. Being a parent, everyone thinks like, oh, I'm going to have this baby. It's going to love me so much. I'm going to do it. And it's like, you don't realize, that you're taking care of this child, not just till they're 18, like you're going to be a mother or father the rest of your life. It just doesn't stop. And then if you have a child with special needs, they might be dependent on you the rest of their life. And then it's not just, they grow up, go to college, get married, have kids. And I'm not saying that Thaddeus might not be able to do those things. And he very could, I'll never say never, he very well could be able to do all those things, but there's a chance that he won't be able to do those things and that he'll be living with us at home. He may never be able to experience the normal things and I hate saying that word normal. I know you hate it too, but
I fucking hate the word normal.
I don't know how else to like explain it. It's so hard to like try to find the right words to explain it. And I fucking hate that word too. And I hate the word like average but it's like, it's so hard to explain.
There's really not another that just word don't to get use. It. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
It's so hard
go ahead.
For other people to understand it, for them to kind of like get on your level because they just don't know. It's hard to explain it, So I'm like, I'm trying to explain it in terms that people would understand, I guess.
Oh, so. I know what you mean. And I use the word normal too, because I don't know of another word to use, but I hate the word normal because it feels shameful if you don't fall underneath the category of normal. Like there's something wrong with you.
I always say like normal and average, but then I'm like, I hate that word, but I'm like, I don't know how else to say it. That's how I always usually explain it to people. Like I'll say that right after I say the word, but I'm like, I just don't know how else to explain it. But anyway, taking a step back, because I know we were talking about the pregnancy and everything, so I kind of went off a little bit.
That's okay. So you're pregnant and you weren't happy about it. You were kind of preparing yourself. Maybe something told you like, hey, you might have a special needs kid. And so then you give birth to him, and we could go on a whole nother podcast about the birth. But let's talk about the early months with him, because I know you had kind of a rough start too, everybody. And I did too with Brooks, not so much Oakland, but people always talk about, newborn bliss. Like, let's talk about that fourth trimester with you.
Yeah, Oakland was, sorry, I have something in my throat. Oakland was like a perfect little baby when she was born. Oh my God. And then Brooks, it was like, oh. And then Thaddeus, I know. I was like, what is wrong with this child? But at the same time, it's
still
like
that.
I kind of felt like when you had Oakland, I was kind of like, I loved her and I love you, but at the same time, I was kind of like, bitch, like
I know
you have this perfect little baby. Because I used to say, wait till you have kids, and then you pop out this beautiful little girl who's just perfect in every way, and I was just like, you fucking suck. Like, really? Like, everything I just said to you, like, you'll just see, totally went out the window. And then when Brooks came, I was like, Brooks was my buddy. He was like, oh yeah, she's gonna know now. And I'm like, yeah. Nickel.
He's like the little Hulk in a miniature form. Like oh man, we'll have to do a podcast I'll have to talk about him on another one.
Yeah.
So
I know, he's so
number
funny,
number two has been like, my whole world has been thrown through. Anyways. Okay. So Thaddeus comes into the world. What was the early months like for
He
you?
was really good at first. Like, he didn't really cry very much at first and everything. The first problem was breastfeeding. Oh my God. Like, cause I was determined to breastfeed. Like, he is not getting a bottle. He's not getting a pacifier. Nothing against that for anybody else. Like, if you want to formula feed, you want to do whatever, that is totally your choice. But for me, I wanted him to breastfeed, and he ended up having bottles down the road. But it would be breast milk, like in a bottle. But at the beginning, I was like, no, boob only, like no pacifiers. Like, I'm determined. And oh my God, my boobs, like I had like no milk coming in until he was like 5 days old. I think I pumped finally because I was like, nothing's happening. I need to jumpstart these babies. And I pumped, took a nap, woke up like 2 hours later, and I looked like Dolly Parton. I was like, oh my God. But good, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a really rough start with the breastfeeding. Come to find out 2 years later, because I breastfed him till he was 16 months. When he was 2, we found out that he had a lip tie that they never found out when he was little. And they said that was the cause of my breastfeeding issues. So I breastfed him that whole time with a lip tie. Yeah, me. But
I remember you being in pain, even like 3 or 4 months in. You're like, it fucking hurts, and like,
yeah, he would like chew on them, like,
yes.
And he took a chunk out of one of them when he got teeth. That was fun. Yeah, it's still misshapen in that area.
Brooks bit me a couple months ago because he got like teeth in, I think, like 6 months. He's got like 6 teeth now. He's 9 months old. I'm like, put the teeth away, kid.
Yeah, Thaddeus's 2 bottom teeth came in when he was like 3 months old. He got his 2 bottom teeth. I remember that.
Yeah. And it's like they and obviously they don't know. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. I'm assuming babies aren't like little demons that want to bite your nipples off. But like sometimes. Brooks bit me, and it's like such a reaction. Like I smacked him right in the face, and I was like, "Don't I did that to Thaddeus too." And he looked at me like, "Woman, did you just slap me?" Like,
but Thaddeus is like, yeah, but I think I slapped Thaddeus, but because he bit, like he took a chunk and there was blood, and I was like, oh my God. Like, then I thought I made him bleed because I smacked him on the face, but it was like, no, my mouth, like it was just not a good thing. But yeah, so the breastfeeding journey in the beginning wasn't ideal, but it got better eventually. There's some little, roadblocks here and there, like, that we just talked about. But he was very colicky, in the beginning. I remember I think I took him to the ER like 5 times, like in a week or 2, because I was like, there's got to be something wrong with this kid. There's no reason he should be crying like this. It was like, no matter what I did, this kid would not stop crying. And I was like, he's got to be in pain. Oh my God. And the doctors just laughed at me when I went in the ER. They always told me, like, it's great to come in and always get checked, but they'd be like, this is just a baby and, it's your first one. I'm like, I don't understand. No, make it stop crying. Yeah. But eventually got better. I mean, they told me he was just colicky and stuff. I mean, which just happens, I guess, because nobody could really pinpoint anything that was wrong with him. And so then we just went on with our lives, and he was doing all the milestones like you should, when he's, 3 months old, he's rolling over. 6 months. He took a little bit longer to sit up on his own. I think he was about 7.5 months actually. Which I noticed that I still think that's
still pretty normal though. I think don't they say like
anywhere, I think between like 6 to 8 months technically, I think is usually, every baby is different. And he started walking, I think he was about 13 months when he started walking. And the one thing that we noticed I guess to start the beginning was he wasn't talking. He just like, we tried, like we got him to say like, you know, mama and dada, like I think he said it like once or twice, and then he just stopped. And it's just weird because it all happened when he got really sick, and everybody has their opinions on vaccines for their kids and whatever they want to do. And I honestly don't know what I believe in. All I know is that when I took him in to get his last vaccines, he got so sick, so freaking sick, that we ended up in the ER for 4 days. And before that, he was saying mama, dada, he said it a couple times. And then after that, remember, he just quit talking completely. Do you remember that?
Completely. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. Like, it gives me goosebumps to even think about it, because I know
like,
a couple other people. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, we were in the ER. He had freaking IVs everywhere, like so sick. And it's, you know, everyone wants to say like, oh, you know, these shots don't cause autism and all this. And I, like I said, I don't know what I believe. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. All I know is from my own personal experience, what I saw my kid, you know, growing, and then all of a sudden, you know, I do everything like I'm supposed to. I give him the shots and everything. And like, the next thing I know, we're in the freaking hospital with like tubes coming out of him because he's so freaking sick. And then he just quits. He quits talking. Then he quit walking. Remember? He quit walking. And I was like, this is not my child. And it was like, it was weird. And after that, it just spiraled downhill.
Well, I mean, there's a lot more that happened after that. So you spent the 4 days in the ER, you bring him home, and then what happened?
It just, he didn't quit walking right away. I think it was a little bit after that. I think it was a few months, but he quit talking completely. And then it was a few months later, he quit walking. He went back to crawling, and we couldn't get him to walk. We took him to the doctors to try to get we got his legs checked out and everything. And they said his legs were okay. You know, then now we're dealing with some stuff with his legs again. But, at the time, yeah, they couldn't really find anything, you know, wrong with his legs. They couldn't figure out why he quit walking and why he was. And then they're like, oh, well, kids all talk at different ages. But then there was just, I don't even know, like, just, I can't even think of all the things.
No, I know. So what was the first sign that like you took him in and because I remember you had like a speech pathologist come, and I can't remember if he was like 2, but they tried to work with him on that for a really long time.
It was the no talking thing, and that he kept getting ear infections. So when I went to his doctor, and it's not his doctor anymore, she's been gone. All of his doctors I've loved, though. There hasn't literally been a doctor that I haven't dealt with him that hasn't been great. So I'm really thankful for that, because I know some people deal with asshole doctors. So
me,
you know. Yeah. And
maybe it's just me though. Maybe I'm the asshole.
I don't know, because all my doctors have been great. So
anyways,
we go to the doctor, and then he must have been a year and a half. I think he was about a year and a half, ballpark. And they're talking about how they want to put tubes in his ears because they're like, we wonder if he can't hear. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, we wonder if he can't hear because he's not talking and he keeps getting these ear infections and stuff. And I was like, well, is that like, are you guessing, or is that what you're saying? And I'm like, and I told him, I said, can I get a second opinion? Can I go, or not, can I? Like, I was like, I'm going to get a second opinion. You're not putting tubes in my ears unless I know for sure that that's what he needs. And so they were like, oh yeah, we'll send you over to the Northwest AEA, you know, the place on Morningside, who ends up like helping us really good. And they do the ear tests and all sorts of tests over there. And they also deal with like kids with autism and everything. And so we go over there and they check his ears, and they're like, his ears are fine. They're like, I mean, you can see a little redness in there probably from, you know, him having his ear infections. They're like, but his hearing is perfectly fine. So then they're the ones, I think, that started it, you know, like, we think, you know, we need to start, you know, getting him some speech therapy. They never used the word autism, I don't think. I think they're like, we just need to get him a speech therapist, you know, we need to get him sort of talking. So I was like, okay, you know. And then they had 2 of the ladies come over every couple of weeks until for about a year and a half, because I think it started right when he was about a year and a half, between a year and a half and 2, and it went until he was 3, right when he turned 3, when we were in Alabama right before then, because when we came back he started preschool when he was 3. And yeah, 2 really nice ladies, and they worked with him, but they were the ones that, you know, ended up bringing it up, because it was like, even them, speech therapists, like pathologists, like they were doing everything that they could, and it was like
they were trying to teach him sign language at one point too.
Yeah,
right?
they were even trying to teach him sign language. He didn't want nothing to do with it, and it was like you could only do so much with him. And that was when around this time frame, about the year and a half range, I think, is when the headbutting started, when he would start headbutting stuff, and he still does that. He gets angry and frustrated. And I think it's gotten better as he's gotten older, because now he can talk and he can kind of tell me things that he wants, but still there's some things, now he's almost 6, that I don't understand what he's saying, and he gets so frustrated. But that's what he did when he was younger, because he had no way of communication, even when he was, you know, even because he didn't start talking until he was 3. So even, you know, like a 2-year-old, you know, can usually, like when Oakland, you know, she'd be like, I want my passy, I want this, I want that, you know, when she was 2. You know, he couldn't do that. And so he'd get so mad, and he would just headbutt stuff, headbutt the floors, headbutt the walls. And we tried everything to get him to stop. We even tried like putting a pillow before him. Nope. We tried like making him.
But you have to
headbutt,
think
like,
about, you know, you and me and everybody listening has to think about, how would you feel if you were trying to communicate something to somebody who could not understand you, and you just had this frustration building and building and building, and you didn't know how to get rid of this frustration or this anger? You would probably punch something, or you would shake your fist, or you would scream, or you would headbutt, or you would bite or kick or punch. Like, you would do something to try to release that tension. And so I think that's just a basic human need, is like, he felt this anger and frustration, and you have to get it out some way. And for him, that's headbutting. For me, when I was younger, you know this, I used to punch things. I mean, and I'm sure everybody listening to this can
you
relate
punched
to
me
this in some.
sometimes.
Oh, fuck yeah. I've punched all kinds of things. And remember, I went through a whole phase where I would like cut the shit out of my arms too, you know, or I'd burn myself with lighters. Like, people have really weird ways of dealing with their emotions, and how to get that, you know, that release. And so for him, I think it's totally, acceptable is not the word, but it's totally understandable on why he was doing something like this. And so when people see children or other adults like dealing with anger, like, that's how they have learned to cope. It may be right or wrong, there's no right or wrong here, but that's why.
Yeah, he gets so mad, like, and he still gets like that, but he's better, like I said, now, because he can, you know, talk. But now it's more of like an anger, like, I won't let him do something. Like, he wants, you know, to bring in a dead snake like the other day, and I'm like, no, you're not bringing in a dead snake. Like, Brady hit it with the lawnmower, and he wanted to bring it in, and I'm like, no, you're not bringing that freaking snake in. And he was okay, I guess, but he got a little mad and headbutted the picnic table, but then he was fine. But before that, and this was just like 2 days ago. Before that, God, was it yesterday? What was today? No, it was 2 days ago.
All the days blur
I
into
know,
one.
but
It's
for
one
some
big,
reason,
long
he
day.
was just on one that day, and no matter what, it was like he'd walk by the suitcase and barely graze his leg on a suitcase, and he just and throw himself down, start headbutting. And I'm like, what is wrong? And I pick him up, and he go, no, no, no. Like, I'm stabbing him to death. And I'm like, what are you screaming about? I'm like, do you need to take a nap? No. Like, the devil's coming out of him. He freaking started kicking me. He snotted all the snot on me. He kicked me in the face.
Gross. Oh,
yeah. And Brady went, what? And I was like, yeah, you just let me handle this, you know.
Yeah, because once Brady like throw up all over the place, then you have to clean up snot.
Brady's got like a really sensitive like gag reflex. Like,
so
even when
Will.
he has to like clean up, like, it must be a guy thing. I don't know, because
they're pussies. That's what they are.
He's better about changing Thaddeus's diapers now, but in the beginning, oh my God, it was terrible. But after doing
I know,
it for almost
Will
6
would be
years,
like, he'd be like when he would clean out like Oakland's, you know, because you have to like clean out her vagina, right? And if you poop, sometimes like it gets up there, and he's like, bleh, bleh. I'm like, you have to get it, like, you can't poop in her vagina.
yeah, like, Oh, it drives me crazy. Like sometimes Brady doesn't clean him up all the way, and I'm like, there's still poop on his butt.
You have to get the poop off
the fucking couch, and now I gotta rub poop off the couch. I'm like, you have to really get up there in his poop hole because it hoards in that area.
Get in there nice and deep like.
I'm like, what about when you take a shit? You just, one wipe and I'm good. No, you want to make sure you're clean. It's like, God. But anyway.
So go back to the communication part.
Huh?
No, that's perfect. Well, this is how conversations go. Like I said, it's
pretty
not
much.
Like
our conversations never go. We like jump around, and like one story is like, for us, is like 20 stories in one. Like,
but that's what makes it fun. And if people can't follow along, then whatever. This is just a typical conversation. If you ever meet me in person,
if anybody knows us, they're gonna listen to this and be like, this is literally how they talk. Like, we can't even keep up sometimes. Like we have codes too. Like that one time when I was like, what's that one movie? Or no, you said it. You were like, what's that one movie with the black guy and a fro? And I was like, Undercover Brother. And like,
Undercover Brother.
I was like, Undercover Brother, and like somebody next to us was like, how did you get that? Like,
oh my God,
there's how many movies out there like that.
Funny movie.
Like, I know, I love that movie.
Oh, hilarious.
So going back to the speech pathologist and all that. So yeah, so that started, like whatever they were doing, they even said it. They're like, man, he is like the one child that like we just can't seem to like, do any of this stuff. Yeah, pretty much. And they were the ones that started, hinting at the idea that he might be autistic. And I was like, okay. Or the conversation came up down the line, not with them, but who was it? Somebody said possibly Asperger's too. But then we found out later down the road that Asperger's, they usually don't have a speech delay, is what I was told. I mean, I could be wrong. But that's what I was told by my doctor. Oh, sorry, I had to burp. And so, well, I just didn't know if anybody heard it. So if you heard that,
it's fine. I was doing videos last night.
Apologize.
I was like in the middle of a video. I was recording some things, and in the middle of it, I was like, well, fuck, should I just keep going with it, or should I like start over? I was like,
maybe nobody heard.
I was like, excuse me, and I just kept going. I'm like, well,
maybe it can be like one of your, like, when people do like announcements or podcasts, you have like a ding 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 before you start talking. Like that'll be like your signature getting ready to talk, just a big old burp. But so speech pathologist. Okay. So we were doing that, and then God, I'm trying to think of what happened, because he was with them for, like I said, about 1.5 years. So I think that's what, so he was with them for about 1.5 years, and they would come to the house, and he really, really loved them. And one of the ladies, she actually lives right here in town. And the other lady, I don't remember where she lives. She lives a little further away. But it was actually really cool because Thaddeus, when he went to Washita this year, she actually works for the school there as this speech pathologist. So she got to see him again. She hadn't seen him since he was like 2, and she got to see him this last year. So, and she's just like such a sweetheart. I don't know, she might listen to your podcast, so if she does, like, you know who I'm talking about.
You're like, shout out, you're awesome.
Shout out. Well, shout out to anybody that his teachers this year were awesome too. And like his aide last year, Brittany, she was amazing. Everybody for the most part's been pretty good. We did have a couple bumps in the road last year with the school, and you had to go with me, and it was not good, but we made it through.
They probably all still hate me, but if they're listening,
they probably hate me too.
If I apologize, I had my I don't even know what you would call it, mama bear
your
hat.
Big sister hat on.
There you go. Yeah, something was
sister
on.
Hat on. I like called her. I was like, I have to do this meeting with like 10 teachers, and I'm fucking pissed about some shit that's been going on. I was like, I can't fucking go alone. I was like, I need you there. She's like, I'm there. We go in, and it was like, yeah, it was, but whatever. He doesn't go to that school anymore. So
yeah, we don't have to. I mean, I'm sure they were doing the best they can with what they had. I was shocked at some of the things. Anyways.
Yeah, and it wasn't. Yeah, and it was a lot of good things too with that school and those teachers and everything. It was just a few things that happened that maybe kept happening to the point where it's like, okay, something needs to be done. Nothing against teachers. I know you guys all, you deal with these kids every day, and especially with kids that are special needs. Like, it's, definitely amazing what teachers do. So not knocking teachers. It's just mama bear came out in me, gotta protect my cub. So I was a little irritated, but everything got worked out. So he started, I don't know, you want me to go when he started preschool, or?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
And you tell me where you want me to talk about.
Well, the next thing that I want to touch base on before the schooling thing, and maybe we'll kind of touch on this because I think it leads into nicely where I want to go next with this. And that is that not everybody, and again, like, I'm sure people are trying to do the best they can from their understanding, but let's talk about what it's like, a day in the life of what you're doing now, and how you have been judged, some of the things people say to you, how you cope with those things, and how you spend a lot of time just like trying to educate people on what it's like to be you or him.
I don't even know. Like, I mean, to me, it's
what's a day in the life? Let's start there. Like, what's a typical day? And I know, like, right now it's being a little bit different because all the shit that's going on and everybody's kind of stuck at home. But like, what's it like living your life?
It's a roller coaster. I mean, every day is different, but some days he has really good days, some days bad days, but I don't even know how to word it. It just all depends on him. So say, like, the other day when he was having like a total meltdown, like, that was a bad day. Other days are good, but like a typical day would be, we wake up, he goes in and goes to the bathroom. He'll pee in the toilet. He doesn't poop in the toilet. He still poops in pull-ups, and we're working on that, but he'll sit on the toilet, but he just can't seem to get it to come out. And that's another thing. It's kind of to the point where we just have to let him do it, because when he decides to do something, he'll just do it. It's like literally like that. Like, it's like one day he's not doing it, the next day he's doing it like he's been doing it forever. It's like he knew how to do it all along. He just, I don't know. Like, it's so crazy, like how he just clicks with things sometimes. But yeah, so he still doesn't poop on the toilet, and we don't really we try to get him to do it, but we don't push it, because when we try to get him to do it or push it, he gets really frustrated, and it's like total shit fit meltdown from hell. And because we're telling him to poop on the toilet, and we're like, poop on the toilet, poop on the toilet. So then he's trying to poop on the toilet, but he can't get it to come out. So then he's like, he just keeps trying and trying. So when you're telling him, he knows that he needs to get this poop out in the toilet, and he can't do it. So then he's so fucking frustrated, like, and it's like, he won't stop. Like, it ends up being a total meltdown, pretty much of me, like, cuddling him, rocking back and forth while he's screaming bloody murder, bawling, and then he calms down, and then he throws himself out of my arms onto the floor, starts headbutting the floor, and then he runs into the wall or the door, then he goes back on the toilet and tries to poop, and then it's just a vicious cycle. So we're like, we're just gonna, chill on it for a little bit until he can maybe understand a little bit better. But
so before we get into the rest of it, I don't know why this just dawned on me, but like, what, in your terms, what is autism? Like, what has he been diagnosed with? Like, what was that diagnosis like? Let's talk about that for a second, and then we can kind of get into the rest of the day in the life.
Well, he's been diagnosed with, some people don't like the labels of like the levels and everything, and I don't necessarily care for them either, but this is how they label it down on paper. He is labeled as autism level 2, high functioning. And he also has ADHD, is what they said. So he's got a couple things there. But I guess we didn't find out. We didn't get the official diagnosis until this past November. Mm-hmm. And this has been something that we've been dealing with. And he just turned 5, because he turned 5 in October. So this has been something that we've dealt with since, like I said, like, this all kind of started happening when he was about a year old is when we started getting, so it took a long time to get the diagnosis, many, many, many hoops to jump through. Like, it took forever. And I mean, so when I first, found out, it was like bittersweet. So at the same time, it was like, we knew, we were pretty sure, like, like it was like 98% sure that we knew that that's what it was. Obviously, we were just kind of waiting for the official diagnosis on paper, so it could benefit him in ways so he could go to like different programs. And, there's a lot of programs, like program that you offer with your other job and stuff, that need to have, the documentation before they'll let kids, join the programs.
Yeah.
So we really wanted that. So it would open up like a, big, I don't even know what you call it.
Opportunities for him.
Opportunities for him. Yeah, that's a good word. For him to do things. And so, but, we kind of wanted it too, for our peace of mind, just to know, for a long time, we went back and forth, if everyone's like, are you going to find out? Are you going to do the test? You can do this. And I was like, we're just going to kind of wait. He is who he is. We love him. We're going to kind of see when he starts talking, and, whenever he starts talking, and then we'll kind of go from there. And then once he started talking, he was saying little words here and there, then we started to notice, with how he would say things, or just, I don't know, I guess I really don't know. But I think I just one day just clicked, and I was like, yeah, I think we need to get, start getting into this further or more, I guess, to figure out what's going on, because
it's like your instincts or your intuition kicks in, and you're like, oh gosh, I wonder.
It was kind of like, it was mixed feelings. Like, it was kind of like, it was his dad, and then, our dad and other things, like, they didn't want to acknowledge, like, he's fine, there's nothing wrong with him, but and I'm like, I think that there is, like, if there is, are you gonna love him any less? And everyone's like, well, of course not. And I'm like, well, there you go. I'm like, but we need to figure out what's going on. And I think I was the finally one who was like, okay, we need to figure out what's going on. And Brady's always just like, whatever you think is best. I'm like, okay, all right, let's do this. And so I guess when we got the official diagnosis, like, we already kind of knew, but like, I cried when I read it, just because it was kind of bittersweet. Like, it was like, it kind of broke my heart a little bit, because then it was like, and like, I hate to say this, like, I shouldn't say never, and I'm going to try not to cry because this gets me upset, but it's like, the kind of the life that you have envisioned when you have a kid, it kind of goes out the window. And I'm not saying that, he could be different, but, it's kind of like, when you have a kid, like I mentioned earlier, like, you envision this life for them, they're going to go to school, they're going to have their first day, it's going to be great, learn how to ride a bike, which, he's learning, but that's still something that he struggles with. They're going to, go off and go to college and get married and have kids. And I'm not saying that he might not do these things, like I said, but
yeah,
when you first see it, it's kind of like that, just, it kind of goes out the window. Like, you don't know because before, when you have, children, usually, that's usually what's going to happen. And then it's like with this,
expect.
And then it was like the life that I envisioned, you want your child to be happy and have the best life, and kind of went out the window. And then, like, it just breaks my heart, because, like, he just wants to have friends, and he just wants people to, understand him. And he's got a couple friends, like Oakland, she's his cousin, but she is just amazing with him. Like, and I'm not just saying this, like, just because they're cousins, but and he loves her so much, and she loves him so much. And we do things together, and they hold hands, and they are just so perfect together. And, and then another, my friend Amberly and her daughter, Ashlyn, like, she's really great with him too. She comes over and she plays with him, and she kind of understands, that he's not like how she is. And so she tries to help, and like the other day when I was losing my mind, I was trying to set together this entertainment center, and he wouldn't leave me alone. And he was like jumping on the stuff, and he was ripping up all the styrofoam, and I was about ready to throw him out the window. Ashlyn's like, come on, Thaddeus, let's go play with the toys. I'm like, thank you. Like, but even then he still didn't want to leave me alone. But like, she tried, but she tries to play with him. She's like, let's go swing outside. Like, let's go play in the sandbox. And, you know, so he's got a couple friends, but for the most part, like, he doesn't really have kids to play with. If, you know, we're outside and the neighbor kids are like running around or playing, he tries to run over there and play with them. And the looks on their faces, it's like, they just look at him like, you know, or even when we go to a park, you know, he tries to play with the other kids, but he's like, he gets excited and he like jumps around and he like shakes his head really fast, like back and forth, and he yells and he like is throwing his hands around. And then the kids are like, what's wrong with him? And then, and I know that it's, you know, parents always want to protect their kids and everything, but parents are problems too, because a lot of the times when the kids don't understand, you know, this is a big thing. Like, the kids don't understand, and that's totally fine. But this is the opportunity to educate them, to let them know, you know, kids aren't all the same. So when, you know, you see Thaddeus or something like that, instead of being like, oh, just leave him alone, just don't play with him, you know, or just, you know, go away, like, just leave him be, you know, like, don't do that. Like, this is an opportunity to be like, well, just play with him, you know, like, he's probably just different, you know, he doesn't understand things maybe like you do, or does things like you do, you know, just educate him. And then they'll be like, because kids, their minds are like sponges, you know, they're going to remember that when, you know, I guess when they get older, you know, that's right there, I feel like, is a learning moment for when they get older, how they react to people with special needs, in my opinion.
Well, I have a perfect example, because like, even me and Will, like, I grew up, and I've always exposed myself to people with special needs, or people of different circumstances, different income. I mean, like, you go a vast variety of people, and I feel like the more people you can expose yourself to, the more of a understanding and well-rounded human you can be. And so there's a lot of situations that I've put myself in or been in, and I'm very comfortable and confident in those situations because of that, you know. And for example, like, even like Will, like, when we've gone places, or when I started working with people with disabilities, he's like, well, I don't know how you do it. Like, I just feel so weird. I don't know what to do, you know.
Brady
But he
was the
didn't,
same way.
yeah, he didn't grow up around things like that. Nobody talked to him about that. And I'm like, they're just
Same with Brady.
people. Like, they're just people. Like, you don't have to, like, it's only weird if you make it weird. And if you make it weird, they grow up as adults thinking it's weird.
Yeah, like, we just never really, you know, because we grew up with Dustin, and then, like, you know, Aunt Colleen, she was another one, you know. Whenever we'd be around her, we had any function or something, I'd always, you know, I'm like, if she comes up to you and holds your hand, you know, just let her hold your hand, you know. That's just that's her way of communicating to you, because she couldn't talk, you know. That was her way of saying, like, hi, you know, like, I want to be near you. She would just come near you and hold your hand, and we just never thought anything of it, you know. It, like, we grew up around this stuff, so we never really, I guess, like I said, and that's what I try to understand that too, because I'm like, you know, not everybody, you know, understands people like this, which necessarily isn't their fault, but then it's like, but, you know, people don't have to be like rude about it. And I feel like, and they, even then, sometimes I feel like people don't think that they're being rude by what they're saying. But
like, give an example of somebody who was rude that maybe didn't know that they were being rude.
I don't even know. I can't even
like
think
the kids, like the kids at the park thing. Well, you tell me stories all the time, like the kids at the park, or like when you're at the grocery store, or how like people invite you to things, and like you don't go to functions because people are like, oh yeah, it's fine, just bring Thaddeus.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't, like, it's just all the time. It's just, I couldn't think of like a specific story, but like, people, one thing that bothers me is like, people say that, well, like, if I'm like, well, he's autistic, they're like, he doesn't look autistic. I'm like, what do you think an autistic person looks like? That's one that drives me crazy. And then when people talk about his hair, I'm like, when are you gonna cut his hair? And I'm like, we're not going to until he can understand what a haircut means, because he's got a thing with his ears, and he, like, just, it was yesterday, I had to clean them because they were so dirty, and I had to hold him down, and he screamed bloody murder, like I was stabbing him to death, because I had to wipe out his ears with a baby wipe. I don't even use a Q-tip. I just wipe him around and then like get my finger kind of in there, and he acts like I'm killing him. And he just, I don't feel like he would understand what a haircut means. like, I feel like we would cut it off and then he'd be like, uh-oh, groping, which means broken. And he'd want to put it back on and we couldn't. So there's one thing, there's that. But yeah, I don't even,
No,
I
it's
guess
fine.
functions.
The other thing that I want to talk about is, or that you tell me a lot, because he's always welcome here, and I don't care. He's, him and Oakland get along great, and he's always come along with a lot of the things we do. But I know that you get invited to a lot of things, and they say, "Oh yeah, just bring the kids," and you're like, "I can't." So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so a lot of times it's like weddings are a big thing, or any sort of function where it's like, if we're not, like, it's got to be kind of like a sit down type of thing, and or it's not an enclosed area. Like, sometimes I don't bring Thaddeus, I'll drop him off the grandparents, because like weddings, for an example, like, people will be like, "Oh, why didn't you bring Thaddeus?" I'm like, because if I did, I'd be running around this entire place, not even be able to speak to anybody, because he wouldn't want to sit down. And I'm like, and he would probably like push over the freaking cake stand. He'd probably get behind the DJ stand and start pulling wires because he'd think that they were funny. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? And it sucks and I do bring him to a lot of things too, because I love to like hang out with him. He's like my little best friend. I love to do things with him. But when it's things like that, when it's like kind of more grown-up-y, and I'm like, hey, like, I deserve a night to go to a freaking friend's wedding and sit there without having to chase my child every 2 seconds, or me and Brady taking turns, because I'm not, that's what it would be. It wouldn't be just me the whole time. We would take turns. But it's like, okay, or we could just drop him off at grandparents. But people don't understand that. Like, I'll be like, I can't bring him. And they're like, well, why not? And I'll be like, well, because like, just like I said, I'm going to be chasing him around the whole time. We're like, there's other kids there. They can go play in the playground. You can go hang out with the other kids. I'm like, nope, it doesn't work like that. I'm like, I have to have my eyes on him all the time. I'm like, because he's a runner, and he doesn't understand that, if we're anywhere near a road or anything like that, he doesn't understand that if he runs in the street and a car's coming, like, he could die. Like, and like I said, again, I don't like saying this word, normal child, but other children, you can say, to a 5-year-old, like, hey, like, you can't go on the street. Like, you see the cars driving by here. Like, if you get hit by a car, you're going to get hurt. And they'll be like, okay, like, they understand what you're saying. He does not understand that. So it's like, he doesn't understand if he climbs to the top of the swing set and jumps straight down on the ground that, he could get really hurt.
Yeah.
There's things like that, but any sort of function, usually, if it's in somebody's house, this is another big one. If it's somebody's house and it's not like yours or dad's or mom's, like, I don't go usually. Like, sometimes he's okay, sometimes he'll leave his clothes on, but a lot of times if he's in any sort of home aspect, and like, those clothes are coming off. Like, my child likes to be naked, like, I like to be naked too, so I can't blame him. And like,
yeah, we walk around
clothes
naked all the time.
Yep.
Will, the other day we were walking around. Well, Will was just walking around naked the other day. He's like, "Are you on FaceTime? Shut it off. I'm walking around naked."
Hi, Will.
But like, we had roofers doing our roof last week, and we had to like shut all the blinds. And I was like, God, this feels so weird. Like, having to like be careful of.
Oh my God. I think that my
naked.
neighbors have probably seen me naked like a million times, because even though I haven't lived out at dad's in how many years, like, I still forget that I don't live out in the country, and I'll have the blinds open during the day, and then like I go take a bath or something, and then I like dry off, and then I kind of air dry for a little bit, and I'll go like walk out to the living room, and I'm like, oh shit, there I am standing in my living room with all my lights on in my house and every single window's open, and I'm just like, oh fuck. And I like grab a blanket, and I'm like, yeah, my neighbors have probably seen me naked like a million times.
Oh, I guarantee. I've flashed the mail guys and the trash guy, because I'm like, of course I'm naked when there's people in it. It's like I'm seeking attention or something. It's like, oh well, here's my boobs. Sorry.
They're gonna start to think that you like want to like do them or something. They're gonna be like, every time I come to drop off this lady's mail, she's always showing her boobs in the window. Like, no, you just happen to show up at the same time that I got out of the shower, but
yeah,
right.
Basically. I know every time they come, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, it's like clockwork. Anytime I'm naked, you can count on somebody like coming to my house.
Yeah. Well, Thaddeus, he loves to be naked. Like, he loves to be naked, and he's naked all the time. And if we're at home, like, I don't care. Like sometimes I'll try to get him to put clothes on because like he wants to go outside and it's kind of chilly out. But even then he takes his, that was a fight the other day. That was kind of why he was losing his shit, because I was trying to get him to put clothes on because it was cold outside and he didn't want to. Finally, I said, fuck it. Go out fucking inside then and get cold. I'm like, Brady's like, you're not gonna put clothes on him? I said, he'll come in when he's cold. I said, what do you want me to do?
He'll figure. It's called natural
I can't even lock the doors anymore because he knows how to like climb up the chair and unlock the door. And then he just goes outside and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess you'll come in when you're cold. And like mom drives me crazy with that. She's like, put some clothes on him. I'm like, you are more than welcome to go and put some clothes on him if you would like. Watch you struggle to put clothes on him, and then 2 seconds later he's gonna fucking take them off. It's pointless.
I know, you're like, if you can, go for it, because I'd like to see it.
Like, yeah, like be my guest. Go ahead. So like we can't really go to a ton of like home family functions because he likes to take his clothes off, and some people are just like, can you put clothes on? Because they don't want their little kids seeing his wiener bouncing around all over the place, which I can understand. But at the same time, I'm like, he's a kid. Like, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I think people sexualize things too much. Like, to me, I don't think
oh, yes.
They're like, oh, God, Brady or Thaddeus takes baths with you. And I'm like, sometimes, yeah, he likes to take baths with me. Like, that's what he does. Like, he likes to jump in there. It's just, they're like, oh, well, my kid hasn't taken a bath with me since they were a baby. Well, good for you. Like, what is the problem? Like, he's my son. He's 5 years old. Like, what is the big deal if he wants to jump in the bath with me?
I think just we as Americans make nudity like sexualized. Like,
yes,
it's
and
so
boobs,
weird.
and people with breastfeeding, they're just freaking boobs. Like,
I know, it's just
baby
and like
feeders.
even like
get over
even
it.
like just our skin in general, like our stomachs. Like I know so many people are like, oh, my fat, and like when Oakland comes up to me, like I will jiggle my belly and I'll be like, this is mama's belly, you know? Like, yeah.
Thaddeus loves to like jiggle my belly, and then he thinks that's funny, and I don't know. I don't sexualize boobs and bodies and other things like a lot of people do. I'm like, you're just a body like everybody else has, or just boobs like half the freaking people in the world have.
Yep.
You know, feed our kids with these, and if you want to, you don't have to feed your kids with them if you don't want to. That's your decision. But it's just, yeah, it's just, they're just bodies. I don't know. I just don't see the big deal about it. But
yeah. So what else does he do that I guess, or just like things in general that you wish?
Oh, like let's say when we go to the grocery store. Usually he's pretty good. You know, I haven't been going to the grocery store lately, but before all this crap happened, we go to the grocery store or whatever. And one thing is about him, and I love this, is like, because I'm a car seat Nazi, it's like he's really good about like his car seat, and like if you put him in, this reminded me, because if I put him in a cart like at Walmart or something, you have to buckle him in. If you don't, if I get a cart that has a broken clip, I gotta find another cart because he'll freak out. So, but I love that because he's good about it with his car seat too. So say, you know, like if he goes with grandparents or anybody like that, like he makes sure like that clip and thing is like buckled how it's supposed to be, because otherwise like he'll notice, and like he'll be like, he can't say move the clip up. He'll go, like, and point at it, or be like, look, uh-oh. And then you're like, oh, the clip's too low, you know? So we go to the store, and I always have his tablet with him. You know, he watches his tablet while we're pushing around, and he's really great. Sometimes he'll look up and want a toy or something, but a lot of the times is like, you know, if he has a meltdown when we're in the store, he might cry because I didn't let him have something. But, you know, that's a lot of kids. But most of the time he doesn't do that so much. More of the lines, he's excited because he's watching something on his tablet and he thinks it's really funny. And when he gets excited and he thinks something's really funny, he like laughs really, really, really loud.
It's hilarious.
And he yells. So he's like, he'll go, and he just yells at the top of his lungs, and then he starts laughing, and he's like throwing his hands all over, and he's just cracking up, and then I'm cracking up. But you can freaking hear him all the way on the other side of Walmart, you know. And it used to, like, when he was a little bit younger, like I used to kind of be like, oh, honey, calm down, like, shh, like people are looking, like I don't want people staring at me. Now I could give a flying fuck if they fucking stare at me. Like, stare at me, say something, I dare ya, you know. Honestly, like, even like come up to me and ask, like, I wouldn't care, like, give me a smile, like, or even be like, is he autistic? I'd be like, yeah, he is, you know? Like, I honestly wouldn't mind if people came up and asked so I could, you know, explain things to him. But a lot of people probably won't do that because they probably think it's not, you know. But I know people look at him if he's screaming like that and probably wonder. And it's like, it's okay to, you know, come near us. He's not going to kill you. But I think it's kind of funny because he'll just be screaming super, super loud and everybody in the store is staring at me. And before, like I said, I used to kind of hover and cover myself up. Now I just push the cart with a big smile and I look everybody right in their faces and give them a big old smile. I'm like, yep, my child's screaming. He's happy. Like, I'm happy. Happy. He's laughing.
This is, yes, I love this.
That's one thing I get stares at a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So before, I know we're coming up on an hour here, so I don't want to take too much longer.
We've kind of talked about a million other things.
I know we're going to have to do, we'll probably have to do like a part 2. Or I'm going to have to start doing these. Like,
I told you we would.
I know. Well, it seems like that with everybody. Like every time I get on like these interviews, like we're coming up on an hour and I'm like, God, we're just getting to the good stuff. So I feel like I almost have to have like 1.5 hour long or 2 hour long conversations. But then I'm like, well, I guess I would listen to that. I love long podcasts. Anyways,
yeah, for sure.
Squirrel. So before we start wrapping this up, what's like the one thing that you wish listeners would do or know or would like to know in terms of like living with somebody with autism or taking care of somebody with autism? Like how can they be more understanding, things like that?
They just, I mean, all moms have trouble, you know, when they're raising their kids. All kids can be brats and stuff, but it's like, people just don't understand, you know. It's just, I go from, you know, headbutts to headbutting the wall to hitting himself to kicking me in the face to screaming meltdowns to, you know, he just things that he doesn't understand. Like one thing, he's obsessed with the stove and the fire on the stove, and he thinks it's funny to get close to it. And you know, that's one thing that drives me crazy. I don't even know. I just do some research on it, you know. I mean, ask moms, you know, about it. You know, I don't know, just try to be more understanding and not judgy is one big thing, you know. I guess one thing is I should point out, you know, before we end it, like, you know, like I said earlier, I work as a server at a restaurant. A lot of times we get kids in there that, you know, are screaming aloud, and a lot of the servers I work with be like, oh my God, shut that kid up. And I'm like, how do you know that kid's not autistic? You know, like a lot of the girls have kind of figured out not to say stuff like that around me because I'm like, how do you know that that kid's not autistic? You know, how do you know that that kid's not having a meltdown? You know, they're like, well, I don't. I'm like, but they're like, I think he's just being a brat. I'm like, you think? I'm like, you don't know. I'm like, don't judge. Even if the kid isn't autistic, quit it. The mom's doing the best she can. Just quit being so fucking judgmental. Just quit judging. If you see a kid screaming and a mom struggling, ask her if she needs help, maybe, you know, like, don't just stare, or maybe just give her a smile. Like I said, when I go through the store and I'm dealing with a screaming child, like, you know, and you see me, lock eyes, be like, I feel ya. Be like, right? You know, don't judge at me like you've never been in that position with a screaming child before, you know, or you see me carrying my kid out, kicking and screaming, just
mind your business.
Yeah, mind your business, or be a helpful hand. If you're not going to be helpful and you're going to say anything negative or try to be negative or rain on my parade, just keep it to yourself. You know, if you want to be a helping hand, then, you know, great. If you want to ask questions, you know, great. You know, I'm always open to answering questions and getting people to understand, because they just, you know, they don't understand, which is totally fine. You know, ask me questions.
It's just having more of these like candid conversations though about like what's it like, and I think just being humans in general, like more understanding and not like being so judgmental and not projecting our things and not saying you should do this or you should do that or you should do that, and it's more of like, how can I help? Like, how can I help? Is there anything I can do to help?
And I will be the first one to say too, like, and I hate it when people are like, oh, when I have kids, it's like, don't even go there. And I will say, I used to be that.
I said that.
Too. But, yep, I used to be that person.
I'm never gonna breastfeed.
Yeah, and I was that young girl that, like, you know, judged kids, you know, if they were screaming or whatever, until you know, I had Thaddeus, and like he just changed my world and opened up my whole world to, you know, different things. And now I'm like way more understanding about all sorts of things. So it's like, I get it, you know, because I'm like, I used to be that person too. I wasn't fucking perfect. You know, I'm still not perfect. And it's just, you know, just try not to be so judgy and just understanding. That's the most part. Just, we all go through struggles, and I don't know. I have no other way to put it than that.
We're all in this together.
Pretty much. So.
Nicely said. Yeah, just be more understanding, and you know, it can happen to anybody, you know, and if we can just come at life more loving,
Yeah,
and be kind to one another, I think that really goes a long way. Like, ask yourself, like, if I was in those shoes, how would I want to be treated?
That's what I always do. I'm always like, I try to put myself in other people's shoes, and so I can try to relate, you know. But most of the time I just try to be understanding. Like, you know, I know how it is to be that mom with the screaming child, like when we went to Mall of America. Remember when we tried to eat at Margaritaville?
Oh,
remember?
Yeah.
Like
I know.
our mom had to go.
Oh yeah. What? She had to go push him around, but I don't even pay attention to like what other. I mean, and I'm sure you probably.
No, I wasn't. I didn't give a shit what other people were staring at me. I didn't care what people were staring. I just wanted to eat my freaking food in peace. That was what I was worried about.
Take this child so I can eat this food.
And then my food, it wasn't even good. It was like 10 pounds of salt in there. But yeah, like our mom had to go push Thaddeus around so I could sit in peace because he was screaming. Remember, he was sliding. I don't know why that high chair had wheels on it.
Oh, I know. Whoever
throwing the silverware. Oh my God. Yeah. And then mom came. I had to try to eat my food really fast. And then mom came back with her. And then I had to push him around and then carry Oakland. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I was carrying, or no. How did that work?
You had Oakland in the carrier and you were pushing Thaddeus in the stroller.
That's what it was. I had Oakland in the front carrier.
And Brooks was sleeping in his car seat. And then he woke up. And then Thaddeus wouldn't get out of the stroller, so I had to carry Brooks in his in the carrier thing, and then Oakland was on my hip, and then Mom carried the.
And I was pushing the stroller while carrying the car seat.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, we probably looked so ridiculous, but
oh my God, I know. They're probably like, you know, you could just put the baby in there and take the kid out. You try to take him out. See how well that goes.
I was eating ice cream and it was like dripping all
on Brooks' face. I forgot about that. Oh God, yeah.
Oh,
but right so there, for instance, like I couldn't even sit down and have a good meal. We had to take turns, like, you know, because he was having a meltdown. He was throwing the freaking silverware all over the place. I was just like, and I honestly, I didn't give a shit what people were staring at me for. I was just like, I just want to fucking sit here and eat, like, in peace. I'm not even going to be able to get eat. So then I started getting angry because I was hungry and I wanted to freaking eat my food and I couldn't. And then
it's like the story of kids, though. Anytime you want to sit down and have a meal, they're like freaking out or shitting themselves or crying. And it's like,
well, then when we were in Minnesota too, and we went there to go see our uncle, and I couldn't remember that second day, I couldn't even go up and see Jim because he was having a meltdown, remember? And I wasn't allowed they wouldn't let me in the ICU.
I know,
because my kid was screaming and freaking out, and then they threw you out.
They threw me out because Brooke started crying.
So that kind of sucked too.
It did, yeah.
We won't get into all that. That's not our story to tell, I don't think.
Nope, it's not. So, well, thanks for hopping on and actually doing this with me. I know it took us for freaking ever, and there's so many more directions that we could go with this.
Last time we planned it, Thaddeus was having a fucking meltdown from hell, and we had to cancel it because there was no way I was getting on a phone call like this. Like, I couldn't even hear myself think. Like,
you know, it's so funny. I didn't ever understand. I never understood that phrase until I had kids. And then it's like when they're screaming and you're just like, all you want to do is scream back because you're like, I don't even know what to say.
Like our road trip up to Minnesota.
I know. It was insane. I'm like, this is my life right now. Like, I have 2 children that just will not, they don't stop crying.
Brooks was crying so hard. Oakland lost her pacifier, so she's screaming.
She didn't lose it. I accidentally threw it away. I didn't.
Going, I want my fancy. And then Thaddeus starts
thought
yelling,
it was hilarious.
What's going on? Oh my God. When he started doing that, me and Sasha we just literally looked at each other, like, and then we just busted out laughing. Like, we were so to the point of losing our minds that we just couldn't help but laugh. Like,
I was like, what is happening right now?
Like, Thaddeus.
What is going on?
Well, we should probably wrap this up. Sorry, I keep bringing up stuff.
No, that's okay. So how can, and it's lunchtime here, so how can people get a hold of you if they do have questions? Like, how can they learn more? How can they find out more?
They can find me on Facebook. Sonja Lucille Shea is my name. If you follow Sasha, you'll see my name under her thing. Otherwise, people can always email me. It's my first and last name together, so it's SonjaShea17@yahoo.com, and just let me know who you are if you have any questions, or even if you're a struggling mom, because I know that I have a couple friends that just recently found out that they have an autistic kid, and a lot of the times before they even got their diagnosis, they're messaging me, asking me questions. So even if you're a mom out there and any of this kind of sounds familiar, like what you're going through, or you have any questions, of who to get in touch with, like in the Siouxland area, or you don't even know how to go about it, or you have an autistic child and you don't have any mom friends, like, message me. I'm always open to message. I might not be able to hang out as much, but I can always be a friend to talk to, at least, over Messenger, or I can always try to answer questions in the best I can as to my, a situation, I guess, what I've been through. So yeah,
you can always share your personal experience, and sometimes
exactly
that means more than
So
okay.
Yep. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions, or you're like I said, struggling, or don't know who to turn to, or you don't want to talk to family members about it because maybe they'll be judgy and you have no one to talk to, like that you think that your child might be autistic. Message me. I'll be more than happy to try to, help you and get you in touch with the right people. So
perfect. Well, I will make sure to put all of your links in your email in the show notes. And then that way people can just scroll down and click those links and get a hold of you that way. So thank you again. And maybe we'll do a part 2 later this year.
Well, make sure to tag my photography business in there too. So that's another thing. If any of you guys need family pictures or any sort of pictures, like I do them all, and I don't do his weddings as much, but sometimes I do. But everything else I can do. But if you're a family member out there that has an autistic child or any child with special needs, obviously you know that I am, in the same boat. So sometimes it helps, a lot of people don't get pictures done because they're like, they just don't understand. But I'm a photographer that would understand the situation. So just want to throw that out there.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I know that sometimes that can be a hassle for people. So having somebody who has that personal experience, they would feel probably a little more comfortable with you.
A little bit more at ease, because they know that I'm not going to judge because I know exactly how it is.
Thank you for listening to the Sasha Davis podcast. It would mean so much to me if you could take 3 seconds out of your day and leave me an honest review on your podcast app, or take a quick screenshot and share to your social media and tag a friend, letting us know what you enjoyed most about this episode. And as always, for free resources and ways to work with me, head on over to my website, sashadavis.com, or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram at sasha.davis. And I hope you guys have a kick-ass day.